Our Nation Sports Show.
Tonight, we break down the NFL's regular season finale. All 18 weeks are in the books. Starting this Saturday, the real season begins. The NFL playoffs have arrived. For the next several weeks, our Nation Sports Show has you covered. During Super Wild Card Weekend, the Divisional Round, Championship Sunday, and Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas. Also tonight, we crown our Prediction Battles champion. Showtime.
Turn me up. Turn me up. Turn me up. Turn me up.
Good up to the court, talking all that is sport, breaking down the latest news, scores, and more. Welcome to our Nation Sports Show.
All right, we are finally live. After a few technical glitches, of course. Why wouldn't it be? It's the internet. We are here. We are live. What's going on, everybody? I'm Ezra. Of course, it is our Nation Sports Show. We thank you guys for joining us as always. And boy, do we got a lot to get into, man. The NFL postseason is set. Wild card playoff rounds is this weekend. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into, of course, the college football playoff finals with the Washington Huskies and the Michigan Wolverines. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into, of course, NBA news and everything else in the world of sports, like we always do. You wanted the best, but you got the best in the world of sports. Stevie Wine, of course, our other host, will hopefully be joining us soon. He's dealing with some internet outage issues in his neck of the woods, so hopefully we'll hear from him shortly. But outside of that, we got a lot to talk about. So here's the ways you can interact with us first. Of course, here on the YouTube at youtube.com/OurNationSportsShow, Instagram.com/OurNationSportsShow. And don't forget to follow the Twitter at Owen_Sports Show. Like, subscribe, share this video with your friends, your family, your coworkers, whoever you think would like sports. Don't forget to also follow at the Nation's Corner, at the Nation's Corner on the YouTube and Nation's Corner. Everywhere else except for Instagram, which is also at the Nation's Corner. Don't forget to follow my group, Two Sweet Cosplays. We get prepared for the 2024 con season. We will let you know as soon as we get finalized details on when our first appearance will be. We for sure will. Some of us will be at C2E2 weekend hanging out. Will we have a booth? Will we have a table? Will we have a photo shoot? Panel? We'll let you all know. All right, enough about that. Let's go ahead and get into it. And of course, like I said, unfortunately, Kevin couldn't come in tonight due to health-related issues. And Steven, of course, is dealing with a power outage right now. So, with that being said, all I got with me is the best that anybody, the best a person can get. And that is JT, Joey Thornton. What's going on, man?
What's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's having an amazing Tuesday. And like Ezra said, we were having a little bit of technical difficulties, but as far as me and Ezra are concerned, and hopefully Steven later, we're here, we're alive and well, we're ready to talk about sports. So let's get into it.
Yeah, we got a lot to get into, and let's go ahead and get started. With the college football playoffs, of course, the finals came down on Monday last night when the Michigan Wolverines defeated Washington Huskies in what was a bar burner of a game. But hey, you know what? Congratulations to Michigan. Congratulations to Mr. Harbaugh on a hard fought win. Of course, I bet Joey's got a lot of different opinions on it. We'll get to that in a second. Of course, they won 34-13 in that game, and the young quarterback there, Penix Jr. Or actually, no, the young quarterback J.J. McCarthy. He only had 140 yards, 10 of 18, but what carried him was the rushing game. 21. Corum had 21 carries for 134 yards, 2 touchdowns. Edwards had 6 carries for 104 yards and 2 touchdowns. So it was the running game that helped get them to the national title in this one. Number 1, Michigan, of course, now undefeated through the season, wins the title. Now they get to celebrate all that stuff. And I believe it's the first title in well over 30 years or so.
This is actually their first outright title since 1948.
Oh, damn, okay.
But their first actual national title since 1997 when they shared it with Nebraska.
Yeah. But yeah, so...
It's 27 years in between titles.
Yeah, between titles, which is insane. But, Joey, what are your thoughts on the big game from this Monday?
Well, I get to describe it using one little action. Yawn, yawn, yawn. The reason I say that is because the Michigan run game is the only highlight of the entire 4-quarter national championship game. Because Washington did not come ready to play. Penix was definitely not ready. J.J. McCarthy almost couldn't find receivers to save his life. And the defenses, well, we all know how Washington plays defense because they play in a division called the Pac-12, or they used to play in a division called the Pac-12, which, if you look in the Pac-12 dictionary, there's one word you won't find in their dictionary, and that is the word defense. Because the Pac-12 doesn't know how to play it. And as far as Michigan's concerned, I mean, I'll give them credit. They had an undefeated season, the first one they've had in a very long time, a lot of success in the college football playoff. But now the question arises, is Michigan going to be able to keep this national championship? Because of the recruiting violations and the biggest one, the sign stealing violations, the NCAA can easily take the national championship back from Michigan and vacate this year.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, they've done it before. As USC back in 2004, which is the last time that a national championship was vacated. But USC knows how it feels. So now the question is Michigan going to feel the same thing?
Yeah, we'll find out this offseason. We'll see what happens. So you're saying, Joey, that this game you're saying that this game was
Indeed. This game was, in my terms, a snooze fest. Now, I will say it was better than the national championship game from last year, which we all saw that 65-7 blowout, but it wasn't better by much.
Yeah, it wasn't better by most standards, but
yeah, but I will say real quick before we move on to the next topic, I can see Ezra rocking his CM Punk shirt, which I got me a CM Punk shirt arriving in the mail here in just a couple days. So I'm looking forward to getting it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Bought it the night he returned at Survivor Series. Bought it that night. So excited. But yeah, man, it was a pretty one-sided game, but hey, Michigan played smart. They played a great run game, and you know what? They're the ones hoisted the trophy at the end of the night. So, congratulations to them. Even though I know you wish it was your Alabama Roll Tide, but I digress.
Oh, I know, but There's always next year, but of course, now this ends an era in the college football playoff because the four team the four team college football playoff is now no more because we're going to 12 teams starting this upcoming year. And with all the conference realignment that has been happening over the past several months, it's going to be interesting to see who makes the final 12 because, well, for one thing, the Pac 12 ain't really a conference anymore since all they got is two teams. But a lot of teams are joining the Big Ten, a lot are joining the ACC, and Texas and Oklahoma are joining the SEC. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in this new season.
Oh, I agree. I agree, Joey. Speaking of the Washington Huskies, their wide receiver, wide receiver Jalen Polk has declared for the NFL draft.
Well, I mean, it's a smart move. I mean, he was Washington's Penix's number 2 target behind Roma Dunze. So we shall see.
Yep, I agree. And now that college football is done, it's only a couple months away till March Madness starts up again.
That's right. Bring on the NCAA March Madness.
And we will definitely be, of course, we will definitely be covering that on this show as we always do.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
And keep in mind we're inching ever so closer to the brand new merged United Football League that's going to be starting up here. And I think it's around the end of March, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, end of March. End of March, it'll be starting. Of course, it's ran by Danny Garcia and Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
That's right.
So excited.
And that also means we're inching ever so closer to the Super Bowl, but of course, we'll get to that whenever we get there.
Yep, we still got a whole postseason and wild card round this week to talk about. We'll get into that in a little bit, but of course, we got to get into some NBA news, which I want to get into. And of course, one of the biggest news reports of the week is that Ja Morant announced that he underwent season-ending labrum surgery to repair a tear in his labrum, and he is done for the year.
Yeah, speaking of done for the year, here's the Memphis Grizzlies for the rest of the year. They're done for the year. 6-3 in the 9 games that Memphis had Ja Morant back in the lineup, which equaled the amount of wins that they had whenever Ja Morant was still suspended. So if they go 6-19 without him in the first 25 games, imagine what's going to be like for the rest of the season, which I believe, if I'm looking at it correct, it will be another 48 games. So it'll be interesting to see what Memphis can do without their star-studded Ja Morant in the lineup.
Absolutely. Other news, some good news for Indiana Pacers fans. Tyrese Halliburton was injured the other night, and a lot of people thought that he had suffered a very serious injury and he was going to be done. Well, the good news is an MRI revealed that he only suffered a grade 1 left hamstring strain. So that's a sigh of relief for Indiana Pacers fans. They said that he'll be reevaluated within 2 weeks to see how that strain is going, and if he's good, if he's good to go, they'll play. If not, they'll continue to monitor it. But he could miss upwards up to 4 weeks of play. So very critical for Indiana.
Yeah,
very critical for
they
Indiana.
definitely dodged a bullet there.
Yeah, it's very critical for Indiana to lose him even for this short amount of time because Indiana has been playing lights out, scoring they've been averaging at least 130, 140 points a game, and they've just been playing insane. And Tyrese Halliburton's one of the anchors of that team, and to lose him, obviously it's a man goes down, man steps up mentality in any sport, but this is one of your key cogs, and sometimes even that can be very, very effective. So I'm hoping for the Pacers' sake anyways that they're still able to keep the momentum up, but we'll see what happens going on later in the season. Obviously it's only for a couple weeks, so it's not that big a deal. It's not like what happened with Ja Morant, where he's going to be done for the season.
Right.
But even losing those couple of games, especially as we get deeper into the season can be pretty critical.
Yeah, I'll say give it another week, and Anthony Davis will be back on the shelf.
Give it another day, Anthony Davis will be back on the show.
Yes.
Anthony Davis will probably tear his ACL getting out of bed. He's like John Moxley when John bleeds. John bleeds just wiping his sweat off his head.
So true.
Tell the song "Scar Tissue" by Red Hot Chili Peppers was named after him. Man, that joke fell on more deaf ears than taking a bunch of deaf people to see a ventriloquist.
Oh yeah.
You weren't supposed to agree with that, asshole, but whatever. So, free agent Skylar Mays has agreed to a 2-year deal with the Lakers.
Oh, great. Another person that the Lakers can waste.
Yep. And understandably so. And understand this is a NFL. Oh wait, let's talk about this first, and that is Chris Paul. He is done for 4 to 6 weeks with a broken hand. Seems like Chris Paul just can't catch a break, can he? He can't win a title. He can't stay healthy. I don't think him winning a title was meant to be. I just don't think so, because it just seems like there's just factors stopping him from doing, whether it's being traded away, whether it's injuries, whether it's politics, whatever it is. It's just referees being one-sided. It's always one thing or another with Chris Paul, and it's not his fault by any stretch, but it just seems like fate does not want him to have a title.
Right.
But let's talk about the big news. And of course, the biggest news not only involves the NBA, but it crosses over to the NFL, and that is your Washington Commanders now have in their front office former Golden State Warriors GM Bob Myers. What a shock that was when that news came down that the former world champion GM of one of the best teams in the entire NBA has now joined the Commanders' office. It's insane.
I mean, obviously Josh Harris knows what he's doing, and the fact that he, along with Magic Johnson, have known Bob Myers for years, and the fact that Bob Myers knows how to put a team together. The only question is he's used to putting the NBA teams together. But seeing as how he's also going to be working with former Minnesota Vikings GM Rick Spielman, that's going to be a very, very interesting duo. So all I can say is Josh Harris knows what he's doing. So as far as I'm concerned right now, as long as Josh Harris can give us a GM, and as long as he can give us a good head coach, and as long as we do good in the draft, all I got to say is bring on next season.
And here's the thing. A lot of people were giving this whole idea saying, oh, why would you hire an NBA guy to be on your MLB, to be on your National Football League team? Here's the thing, though. He's just a smart businessman. B, he knows how to pick players in drafts. He's got a finger on the pulse when it comes to the right players. Obviously, this is the NFL. It's completely different, a different dynamic in that sense, but it's still very similar. If you think about it, it's a team sport where a GM has to have a finger on the pulse of the draft class or the free agents or whatever it is. And I think Bob Myers has all the tools to do that with, like you said, Spielman by his side. Josh Harris would not have signed Bob Myers if he did not know what the hell he was doing. Obviously, we're going to get into more in the NFL and your Commanders in a little bit. But this was big when it came down. I did not expect this at all that Bob would end up end up being part of the office there. Like, who would have thought that? Like I said, the NBA champion Golden State Warriors former GM ends up becoming a front office guy for the NFL. That's like if Dwayne The Rock Johnson were to suddenly become like the GM of the Miami Dolphins or something.
True.
It would be something like that. It would be something if like Dwayne did that. But
That
still,
would be something.
oh yeah, it would be. Yeah, the problem. Yeah, they would have Zoa logos all over their gear. But, but yeah,
Dang.
so that's what we're looking at, man, and that's I'm hoping the best for you guys, but we'll see what happens going forward here. Let's see what else. Brooklyn Nets were fined $100,000 actually for violating the league's player participation policy in connection with the team's game against the Bucks on December 27th at Barclays.
Oh wow.
The NBA determined that 4 Nets rotation players who did not participate in the game could have played under the medical standard in their policy. So, since they violated the policy, the NBA got fined. Or the Brooklyn Nets got fined over $100,000. In other news, 12-year NBA veteran Ricky Rubio has announced his retirement.
Yeah, I mean, Ricky Rubio, I remember when he was first about to come into the NBA, how everybody thought that he was going to be the next big thing, and how everybody was wanting to go after him because he was one of the top international players playing for Spain. And I'm just like, yes, Spain is a nice league, but let's see if he can come over here and repeat that success in the NBA. And even though he may not have won any championship titles, if my mind is correct, Ricky Rubio was still able to do a lot. So
yeah, he never won an NBA title. He was one of those players who didn't.
I didn't think he did, but he was still a great player.
Yeah, he rotated a lot throughout the years, especially he was on Cleveland. He was, of course, in Memphis for a long time with Mike Conley Jr. So, you look at he's got a pretty decent career, but they said if he were to ever play again, it said it would be back in his native country, Spain. So,
Yeah.
But NBA news wise, that's about it. But as far as the games for tonight, which there should be several, and we're gonna get right to that now. Right now, Pistons are beating the Kings 43-26 in the first. T-Wolves are beating the Magic 33-16. Oh, and I forgot about this. Orlando Magic news. I forgot about that. Shaq's number for the Orlando Magic will be retired.
Long overdue.
Absolutely, long overdue.
Long overdue. I'm glad it's finally happening, but yes, it is long overdue. Shaq, even though he was never able to win an NBA championship while in Orlando, he's the one that put the Magic back on the map whenever he first got drafted by them.
Yeah.
I think, as a matter of fact, I think they did go to the NBA Finals once, and I believe it was back in '95 when they got swept. I think it was by the Houston Rockets.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right on that. But yeah, definitely well earned for good old Shaq on getting
Definitely well earned.
Yep. Also, Trailblazers and Knicks are getting ready to tip off in about an hour from now. Grizz and Mavericks, and then finally Lakers and the Raptors at 10:30 Eastern on your local station, wherever that is. Check it out. Check your local listings, of course, for all that information. And then let me think here real quick. In I mean, there hasn't been really any other things. I mean, MLB has, of course, been quiet as we get ready to head back into spring training here in a couple months.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wait. Breaking news. Breaking news coming out of the NBA. The Cubs have made the first big move of the offseason, agreeing to a deal with Japanese left-hander Shota Imanaga.
Interesting.
Pending a medical review.
Interesting.
Let's see.
At least the Dodgers didn't get him because they've already got enough with Yamamoto and Shohei.
They don't need nothing else. They need to shut them down for the year.
Yeah, for real.
Stop buying everybody.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. And let's go to what we came to talk about, and that is, of course, the NFL. And man, you know what? Usually we go over every single game, and we will go over some of the games. But what I want to do first, for a little bit of a different take, is we're going to go to the NFL postseason bracket and talk about the matchups.
All right, let's get it on.
All right, let's go ahead and do it. I'm pulling it up now because I want to get the official bracket from the NFL.com, not the other crappy ones that don't really give you anything. But here it is. As far as the AFC goes, of course, Baltimore Ravens have a first-round bye. You have the other matchups, which are the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs and the Miami Dolphins, which, of course, is Tyreek Hill's return to Kansas City.
And then, of course, you can't forget about the Deshaun Watson ball with the Houston Texans and the Cleveland Browns.
Obviously, yep, and the winner of that will face the Ravens in the next round, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It depends on if the top seeds win their games.
Okay.
The Baltimore Ravens, they will play the highest remaining seed left.
Okay. All right, so we got those games set right there. But like I said, Baltimore's already got the first round bye. Then the first round bye in the NFC went to, of course, the San Francisco 49ers. And then you have Philly versus Tampa Bay. You have the Rams taking on the Lions with Matt Stafford's return to Detroit. And then the Packers taking on the Cowboys with Mike McCarthy's return to Green. Well, I believe they're going to stay in Dallas, right?
Yeah, they're staying in Dallas because Dallas is the higher seed.
Yeah, okay. Mike McCarthy facing off against his former team, so a lot of different scenarios.
Absolutely, and I will go ahead and get things started off with this note. There is one thing that I will not be surprised about, at least for the wild card round, and that is the fact that I will not be surprised if Tampa Bay winds up beating Philadelphia in the wild card round.
Absolutely.
I will not be surprised because Philadelphia has lost 5 out of their last 6 games after starting 10-1. I mean, they just about had a number 1 seed locked up several weeks ago. But ever since they got their tails handed to them by the San Francisco 49ers, it has gone downhill for Philly because they've only won 1 game, and that was on Christmas night when they beat the New York Giants on a special Monday Night Football. But yeah, they've lost to Seattle. They lost to Arizona. Heck, they even lost their rematch to the Giants back just this past Sunday. So, and seeing as how Jalen Hurts is going to be, seeing as how he's resting an injury, and seeing as how the receivers are nursing some injuries, the O-line is nursing some injuries, heck, even the defense is nursing some injuries. So, I mean, even though Philadelphia may be the favorite right now, they are in some hot water right now.
Yeah.
Because Tampa Bay has been one of the best teams over the past couple of weeks, especially with Baker Mayfield absolutely elevating his game, because it was actually just last year where we were talking all this crap about Baker Mayfield, saying how no matter where he went, he wasn't going to amount to anything. But we can put those opinions and those doubts to rest, at least for this season, because Baker Mayfield was actually able to guide a team to a winning record, nonetheless, in the NFC South, which, seeing as how weak that division was this whole entire year, I didn't think anybody was going to come out with a winning record. So kudos to Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for clinching the NFC South with a shutout win over Steven's favorite team and punching their spot to face the Philadelphia Eagles, who are coming off that, of course, that Super Bowl runner-up season that they had last year.
Yeah, absolutely. It wouldn't surprise me that. I don't want to get too far into the predictions yet, because we are going to do our wild card predictions coming up here in a few, obviously. But I want to get into the news. Of course, there's been a lot of personnel changes as far as firings and of coaches and stuff. We're going to get dropped all those news points. We are going to get into some of the games from last week. But first, all I got to say is to Jordan Love and Green Bay.
Go fuck yourself.
I'm telling you, man, you as a Chicago Bears fan just cannot catch a break. First, it was Brett Favre schooling y'all. Then it was Aaron Rodgers schooling y'all. And now it's Jordan Love. So, are y'all going to catch a break?
I don't know. I don't know. Every time we play against those fucking cheeseheads, we can never win. We can never win when it comes to playing. We can win against other teams. We can win against the Vikings. We can win against the Lions. We can win against fucking Arizona. We can win against anybody else. But we cannot win against Green Bay, and it makes no fucking sense at all. Drives me up the wall every week when I have to sit there and go, not this again. It's like every week knowing that you're getting kicked in the balls. You might as well say you're every person Draymond Green faced.
Dang.
You know,
That is brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about as brutal as Tony Khan's Twitter feed right now. Oh,
Oh, hell.
William Gyron was in the chat. Thank you, sir. He put Chris Paul should call Jake at State Farm.
Or better yet, call his brother Cliff, if he's still working at State Farm, that is. Or
and also Anthony Davis is on the injured
brother.
Also, Anthony Davis is on the injured list due to an ingrown toenail. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your comments as always.
Yeah, I actually just saw something that Anthony Davis has got a splinter in his foot. He's going to be out for a month.
A month? More like a year. That guy's like that. The guy's that toy you keep. The guy's like that toy you keep putting back together. You keep putting back together with glue. Glue keeps breaking it. The kid keeps breaking it. So eventually, you're gonna have to just toss it aside. We'll see what happens. But
right.
He's Buzz Lightyear for Toy Story, like I said. Moving on to that, let's get into all the different things. And let me tell you, Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, they were busy this week. They had a lot to get into, obviously, because there's been so many firings on it. And let's talk about one of the ones that happened earlier today, and that was the firing of Mike Vrabel from Tennessee.
I'm telling you what, Tennessee made the biggest mistake letting him go.
Yep.
They made the biggest mistake letting him go. And let me tell you why. Before Mike Vrabel took over that Tennessee Titans franchise, they were relying on pretty much Derrick Henry to lead their offense. because Tennessee did not have a defense prior to the Mike Vrabel days, and they sure as heck did not have a quarterback to rely on before the Mike Vrabel days, because for crying out loud, it was Ryan freaking Tannehill. You can't trust him to throw a pass to save his life. But in the years that Mike Vrabel was the head coach, he revitalized the offense somewhat, but he definitely revitalized that defense. And Tennessee, they have, even though the records seem otherwise, the way that Mike Vrabel shaped up that defense and completely revitalized it is a key factor. Because if you were to ask any NFL owner, any NFL head coach, heck, any NFL front office member, they would all say the same thing: defense wins championships. And the fact of the matter is, even though Tennessee was never really able to get to a championship, much less a Super Bowl for that matter, they still had a great defense. They just happened to hit bumps in the road and facing good offenses, such as your Josh Allens, your Joe Burrows, your Patrick Mahomeses. I mean, Tennessee just had the worst luck. Heck, even your Lamar Jacksons. I mean, Tennessee, they just had some really rough patches on the road. So, I mean, like I said, long story short, they made a big mistake cutting Mike Vrabel, and wherever he goes next, whether it's a head coach or whether it's as a defensive coordinator, teams are going to welcome him with open arms.
Yep. It's going to be interesting to see where he lands, but yeah, Tennessee, one of the first things to do, we're going to fire Mike Vrabel, Take a look at some of your other pieces and kind of figure out what's going on there. Instead of course, the coach being the fucking sacrificial lamb like it always is.
Right.
It's unfortunately the way they do it here, but let's see what else. Here we go. The Commanders and the Panthers have asked for permission to speak with Cowboys Vice President of Player Personnel, Will McClay. That's going on. So also that's some concerning news, and that is that Jim Irsay has been in a hospital dealing with a severe respiratory illness. He was scheduled to perform with his band this weekend in Los Angeles. Yes, Jim Irsay does play, believe it or not. Quick story, a lot of people don't know that Jim Irsay not only is the owner of the Indianapolis Colts, but he is a connoisseur, a collector of historical musical things, like mainly rock and roll stuff, like handwritten lyrics. He's got everything from like Kurt Cobain's guitar from Smells Like Teen Spirit video. He's got handwritten lyrics by the Beatles. He's got like original guitars and drums and stuff from all those sorts of artists. And he's very into that and taking the around the entire US and doing free exhibits. And he also when his time, he also performs in the band as well. He was scheduled to do one this week in Los Angeles, but unfortunately, due to that respiratory illness, he's been hospitalized. He said he's receiving excellent care, and they're looking forward to returning to the stage as soon as possible. Pretty cool little fact for those who don't know that, yeah, he was in a band, but he is in a band.
I honestly didn't know that myself.
Yeah, he's very into music. That's one of his biggest things is music and music history. He is very much into it.
He learns something new every day.
Yeah. Jim Irsay was actually on the Eddie Trunk radio show, Trunk Nation, on SiriusXM, Fashion Talk. He was actually on there talking about his love of rock and roll and the collectibles that he has. So, pretty cool. The Commanders have also requested permission to interview 49ers assistant GM Adam Peters for their general manager job.
Interesting.
They also we're talking to Chiefs assistant GM Mike Borgonzi for the same thing. And for the head coach job, they were interviewing they got requested permission to interview Ravens associate head coach and defensive line coach Anthony Weaver.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Anthony Weaver, that's a name that's been going around for head coaching jobs for the past number of years.
Yep. And of course, let's talk. Speaking of the Commanders, we might as well stay on topic. And of course, the firing of Ron Rivera.
It was coming. We all knew it was coming.
As they say in the Great Wide Open, as they say in history, best of luck in your future endeavors.
Yep. So it's going to be interesting to see if Ron Rivera goes elsewhere.
Yep, absolutely. The Giants have fired special teams coordinator Thomas McGowan. Let's see. Also, the Falcons have fired head coach Arthur Smith.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't waste no time firing him.
Nope. As soon as they lost that game, they said, nope, you're done. Bye-bye.
Literally.
They gave him the weakest link treatment. With 8 losses, you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, I happened to see something that somebody put on Facebook. It was a picture of course, Arthur Smith and the Falcons logo with a caption on top that said, under Arthur Smith, the Falcons drafted 3 perennial offensive powerhouses in the last 3 years. Kyle Pitts in 2021. Can't remember who it said in 2022, and Bijan Robinson in 2023. And the Falcons went 7-10 each season. I was like, dang. That's brutal.
Yeah, it is brutal. After today's,
But that just lets you know that Arthur Smith was more about offense than defense, and
yeah,
that may work for some head coaches, but not everybody.
no,
And Arthur Smith just wound up on the wrong end of the stick on that one.
yeah. Right here, after the finishes that happened on Sunday, the Jets will not play at Lambeau next year, which means no return Aaron Rodgers trip to Green Bay.
Yeah, wow.
Wow.
Interesting.
And of course, there's injury concerns all around going on right now. TJ Watt will not play this coming week. It appears to be for the Steelers. So and also Mason Rudolph will be quarterback number 1.
Well, let's see what. I mean, Rudolph led the Steelers to a 3-0 record in the starts that he was backing up Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky. So let's just see what he can do.
Yep.
Here in the playoffs against that big bad Buffalo Bills defense.
Yep.
My answer is he ain't gonna go very far.
No. No, he's not. Also, looks like the Lions are gonna have to go without Sam Laporta. He injured his knee in this past weekend's games, and it did not look good.
Yeah, that is a huge loss there. After the amazing rookie year that he had, it's going to be tough going without him.
Yep. There's a lot of people who made incentives this past weekend, too, including Baker Mayfield. Since the team advanced,
that is true.
Since the team advanced to the postseason, he made an extra $1 million. And DeAndre Hopkins had more than 39 receiving yards this past weekend. So he ended up making another $500,000.
Nice. If only Travis Kelce would have played in the game, he probably would have gotten another 1,000-yard rookie season, but he did not because he was too busy.
Instead of joy by 1,000 yards, it's death by 1,000 cuts.
Oh, Oh, you did not go there.
Yep, I did.
Oh my goodness.
Of course I'd go there. Do you not know me after all the time we spent on this show? Come on.
Well, that's true. If Steven were to go there, it's only fitting that you would go there as well.
Dude, it's like Kevin when he shits on LeBron.
Oh, yes.
If Kevin was here right now, I know he'd have a lot to say, but
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
yep. Raiders, unfortunately, some sad news coming out of their camp. They lost one of their legendary players, Jack Squirek. He passed away on Friday. He played 4 years with the Raiders. It was a central figure in one of their all-time great plays against Washington, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
At Super Bowl 18. He intercepted
Yeah, the one in 1983 when they beat us 38-9.
Yeah, when he intercepted at screen press and returned it for 12 yards. So yeah, he unfortunately passed away this past weekend, so condolences to the family and friends and all that. Hope for the best. You want to talk about rookies earlier? You mentioned rookies. To me, there's only one rookie of the year this year, and obviously we're gonna get into those predictions later on, but man, CJ Stroud.
Yes, CJ Stroud.
What more can I say about the kid?
The guy had a phenomenal rookie year, and I'm willing to bet you that Carolina Panther fans are shooting themselves in the foot. Or at least the front office is shooting themselves in the foot because they could have got CJ Stroud.
Yep.
Then again, as we've mentioned before on the show, Houston has something that Carolina does not, and that is an O-line.
Yeah, they could have gotten CJ Stroud and we could have gotten Patrick Mahomes, but look at how that turned out.
Yeah, that is very true.
All right. Let's go over some of the games from this past week real quick. And of course, I mentioned CJ Stroud. Texas beat the Colts 23-19, ending their season with a record of 10-7. CJ Stroud, 264, 2 touchdowns. Nico Collins, 9 catches for 195 yards. Nico Collins has been playing out of his mind lately. So
yeah, ever since Tank Dale went down with that ankle injury, Nico Collins has had to step up, and that is definitely one thing he has done. He has definitely stepped up.
Huh. We got a report about that last Kansas City game. He put Kelsey had a swift exit.
Bravo, sir. Bravo.
Sir.
Bravo.
Sir. Speaking of, you mentioned Tampa Bay. They barely squeaked by the Panthers 9-0.
Yeah, well, what more can you say? What more can you say?
2-15. That's about it for the Panthers.
Yeah.
God. Bengals beat the Browns 31-14. And then of course, the Lions beat the Vikings 30-20.
Like I said, it came at a cost though, because Sam Laporta is now more than likely going to be out for the entire postseason.
Yep, unfortunately, yep. The talk about this. The reason why Arthur Smith got fired, and that is the Saints putting an ass whooping on Falcons 48-17.
Yeah, and I can hear Arthur Smith after the game when he goes to shake Dennis Allen's hand. He's like, "What the did you guys do that for? Y'all already up 41-17. Y'all need to run the score up on us."
He's probably like shook his hand and be like, looks like I'll be coaching Carolina next year.
Oh God. Hey, Arthur Smith and David Tepper, the perfect pairing. Not.
All right. Titans beat the Jaguars 28-20, man.
I'm telling you one thing. I'm disappointed in Jacksonville.
I am too.
8-3 after the first 12 weeks. Literally had the number one spot almost, or at least a playoff spot, in their hands. But just like Philadelphia, 1-5 the rest of the way, including that loss to Tennessee, which not only cost them the division, but cost them a spot.
It's crazy, man. It is. Jacksonville had such a great thing going in. When they started having injuries, when they lost Trevor Lawrence for that little bit, they just can't seem to click again. It just seems like that something's missing now, and that's the reason why they faltered as much as they have. So, but the Seahawks beat the Cards 21-20 in a kind of meaningless game, really. But, of course, Packers beat the Bears 17-9. Aye. Chiefs barely squeaked by the Chargers 13-12. Like, why?
I mean, a lot of teams were resting their starters, and I mean, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs already had that number 3 spot locked down. So, I commend Andy Reid for sending Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Isaiah Pacheco for sure, as well as some starters on defense. But I just let you know that behind those guys, Kansas City don't have a team, because the fact that they almost lost to the Chargers, they needed a field goal in the last few minutes of the fourth quarter in order to come from behind and get that win.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm telling you, this just has not been Kansas City's year.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't been at all. Kansas City seems like they have not been playing the same they would usually play.
No, absolutely not.
And it's not that Patrick Mahomes has been having a bad game. It's that he's been having some decent games. It's just that the key components, aka, I think the whole Taylor Swift thing is a distraction. I think that's what it is. Part of it is, it's not all her. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's all Taylor Swift." No, it's not. It's not all Taylor. Part of it is her, but part of it, I think, is just the team not clicking. The team is not clicking at the right time they should be. It seems like, I don't know if something's going on. Maybe the guys are just having a rough year or what it is, but they need to get that stuff straightened out. Otherwise, this team is going to be dismantled. Also,
yeah, I mean, the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they may be the favorite, fixing to welcome Tua and the Miami Dolphins in this upcoming weekend in the wild card round. But of course, we'll get to that game whenever we give our predictions. So,
yep, absolutely. The Raiders again with another win. This time over the Broncos 27-14. And I can tell you whose job is safe next year. I think the interim head coach is going to be the new head coach from now on.
Antonio Pierce. I mean, the Raiders finally gave everybody a very early Christmas gift and fired that no good, sucky head coach who can't coach his way out of a freaking wet paper sack and Josh McDaniel, and promoted Antonio Pierce to the interim job. And ever since Antonio Pierce took over, this Raiders team has turned over a new leaf. I mean, defense has played a lot better. Offense has been more consistent. I mean, what more can you say? But in regards to this game, there is one fact that I am really, really disappointed with, and that, of course, is the whole Denver Broncos Russell Wilson situation. So I happened to see something on the ESPN app earlier today that stated that Russell Wilson was still gonna, well, actually not Russell Wilson, but the Denver Broncos were leaving the door open for Russell Wilson to return in 2024. Yet this is the same Denver Broncos team that not even a week and a half ago they were saying that they were going to cut Russell Wilson because of him not wanting to take a pay cut. I mean, make this make sense, people, because it doesn't. The fact of the matter that they asked Russell Wilson to take a pay cut after the Week 8 game, and Russell Wilson just refusing, and also with the Broncos literally threatening Russell Wilson for saying they were going to bench him if he didn't take a pay cut. I mean, I just don't understand what the Denver Broncos are doing here, because going into the season, they didn't have any problems whatsoever, because they had Russell Wilson at quarterback. They had Sean Payton returning as the head coach, or returning as a head coach. And not to mention, the Broncos has some decent receivers and a decent defense. But now, all of a sudden, it's just like, what's going on in the Mile High City? Because unless somebody unless somebody can explain it to me, I just don't get it. I don't get it.
The whole Russell Wilson situation is ridiculous. The guy, yes, he started off having a bad season. He came in there, things weren't clicking. Then all of a sudden, the guy now turns into, we see glimpses of the old Russell Wilson, the Seattle Seahawks Russell Wilson that led him to a freaking Super Bowl. You know, the guy that many people thought was the best quarterback in the NFL at one point. And now they're going to say, oh, we're going to cut your pay, blah, blah, blah. Dude, fuck them, man. Come on. Russell deserves better than that. Russ had an off season or two, yes, but every quarterback does. Patrick Mahomes, who's one of the best, is having an off season. Dude, freaking, it doesn't matter who you are. Josh Allen, he didn't have that good of a season this year. Despite them making it to the playoffs, being in the wild card, Josh Allen hasn't had the games that he usually played. Look at the difference from last season and this season with Josh Allen. Last season, Josh Allen was unstoppable. Look where he's at now. He's looking to fight for a spot in the playoffs alone. You can't treat Russ like that. Come on. Russ deserves better. And if Seattle wants to play, or if Denver wants to play games, I'm sure there's another team that would take him in a heartbeat. Hopefully Carolina won't, because it'll just ruin him, but I digress.
Well, I mean, and honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if Russell Wilson decides he wants to go back to Seattle.
I wouldn't mind seeing a return to Seattle for Russ.
I wouldn't mind it either.
Because to me, I think he would fit perfect over there, and he would do it would be cool to see him back there with the new offense and all that, you know. Reunite with Tyler Lockett too.
Yeah. And DK Metcalf.
Yep, and D Metcalf, yep. Now if only we can get what's his name out of retirement, Marshawn Lynch again.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
That's usually how I am about the sports show. I'm just here so I won't get don't worry, I'm not gonna get fined. There's nobody here named Brian Danielson.
Oh.
Speaking of Bryan Danielson, real quick, I know we're getting off topic here, but I want to say congratulations to Bryan Danielson on a great match at Wrestle Kingdom against Okada. Great match. We have a rematch coming up. New beginning in Sapporo. Check it out, NewJapanWorld.com. All right, there's my plug. All right, back to the sports. Obviously, the Giants stomped on the Eagles 27-10. Meaningless for the Giants, but what a way to go out. You've sucked the entire year, except for 6 games. And you know what? Hey, guess what? You stomped the former Super Bowl champs.
Yeah. And the Giants had 3 starting quarterbacks this year. They had, of course, Danny Dimes Jones. They had, of course, Danny DeVito's youngest son, Tommy DeVito, and Tyrod Taylor. But isn't it funny? I find it so funny that the Giants actually had the most success with Tyrod Taylor, their 3rd string quarterback. They had the most success with him this year, and I find that so funny. I really do.
But it's crazy. That's not. Yeah, they benched Tyrod Taylor. Tommy DeVito comes in. He sucks it up. Then what's his name comes back for a game, gets injured. Then they bring DeVito back in. Now they bring Tyrod in, and look at it. He gets the final win of the season against the Super Bowl championship team. There's your answer, New York. Tyrod fucking Taylor, you idiots.
Seriously.
All right, so real quick, Joey, real quick, I gotta take care of business real quick. Why don't you go ahead real quick? Let's talk about real quick. Of course, the Cowboys beat the Commanders 38-10. We know that. The Bills beat the Dolphins 21-14. And the Rams beat the 49ers 21-20, which of course I'm sure the 49ers were resting some of their players, hence why the game is what it is.
Oh yeah, I mean Brock Purdy didn't play, Christian McCaffrey didn't play. I don't think Trent Williams played. Deebo Samuel, I don't think he played. Fred Warner, I don't think he played. So yeah, the 49ers were resting some starters.
Absolutely. Yep, and that's the reason why they lost. The Cowboys, however, they played out of their mind, beat the Commanders. Obviously, the Commanders are in rebuilding mode, but they're doing it smart. Like we said, they got Bob Myers now. They're interviewing. They're looking at to get some big names added to their staff, hopefully head coaching job, and as far as in the office. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, they make some noise this year.
That would be nice.
Yep. So real quick before I take off, Joey, why don't you go ahead real quick before I take off? I'm not saying I'm leaving. I just gotta take care of business real quick, and then I'll be back in like 2 minutes. But let's go ahead and give us the final numbers for the regular season. Do you have those?
I do. If you'll give me just a second to grab my sheet.
No problem.
All right. So Steven was our winner last week, going 9-7. Ezra, you and me finished tied at 8-8, and
right.
Kevin went 7-9.
All right.
It is now time, ladies and gentlemen, to crown our next prediction battle champ.
Yep.
And for those of y'all who were wanting a repeat from last year with Kevin winning it, unfortunately, y'all were not so lucky. As a matter of fact, Kevin finished in last place this year with an overall record of 159-113.
Oof.
Ezra, you finished in 3rd place.
Okay.
1 game up, going 160-112.
Okay.
So that means it's coming down between me and Steven. And we actually had a tie. Me and Steven both went 171-101.
Yes.
So that means it came down to the tiebreaker.
Yep.
And the winner, by virtue of the tiebreaker, which is the fact that he actually picked his chosen game correctly, the winner of our prediction battle is the one, the only, Stephen Wyand.
I was gonna say if it was you, I was gonna say this shit's fucking rigged.
Steven is our big winner.
All right.
He picked the Texans to beat the Colts by a score of 28-24, and he was off by 10 points, with the Texans winning 23-19. And of course, my pick was picking Miami to beat Buffalo, but since Miami lost, that threw me out of the race. So Stephen Wyand is our 2023 prediction battle champion.
And what a hell of a battle this was, man. Congrats to Steven. What a great season we all have played. Can't wait to do it again next year. It was a lot of fun as always.
Yeah.
All right, Joey.
And of course, to keep in mind, next year we're going to be adding a fifth person at least to our list, with, of course, the one and only Hijacker Mike will be joining us next year.
Absolutely. Can't wait to have him involved as well. And it's going to be a hell of a year next year. We'll see what happens, man. Cannot wait. But I'm going to go take care of this business. Joey, why don't you go ahead and give your predictions for the wild card, brother?
Happy to do so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at each conference with each of their games. So let's start off with the AFC. Of course, Baltimore is on a bye. So that means they won't be playing until next week in the divisional round. So let's start off with number 2 versus number 7. And number 2 is, of course, the Buffalo Bills. And they will be welcoming the number 7 Pittsburgh Steelers to Orchard Park in Buffalo, New York. You know, to me, Buffalo has had a up and down season. They have had an up and down season. Josh Allen has been consistent. The defense, they had their holes in between certain weeks. The receiving core, led by, of course, by Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. I'm sorry, I said Josh Allen. I meant to say Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis. They were good on some occasions. And the fact that Buffalo actually had a 1-2 punch with the tight end combo with, of course, Dawson Knox and the rookie Dalton Kincaid out of Utah. I mean, looking at this Buffalo Bills team right now, they are going to be a tough team to beat. They really are going to be a tough team to beat. Now, let's take a look at it from the Pittsburgh Steelers. With the Pittsburgh Steelers, they have a coach that has never had a losing record in Mike Tomlin. They have had some serious quarterback problems. Starting off with Kenny Pickett, who really struggled until he got hurt. And then you had Mitchell Trubisky, who I still don't know who that dude is, because the only Mitchell Trubisky I know was the guy that got a Carolina to a lucky streak. And now they have Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph has really taken the Pittsburgh offense by storm. He really has taken the offense by storm. He has not lost a start this year since he took over as Pittsburgh's starter on quarterback. But like I said, I'm looking at this Buffalo Bills team on paper, and this team is just too strong. And plus the fact that they're playing in Buffalo, that's pretty much going to be the nail in the coffin right there. So I'm going to go with Buffalo to win this game. I'm going to go 31-13. I think Buffalo's just going to do whatever Buffalo does, and they're going to find a way to glide by the Pittsburgh Steelers and move on to the next round. And I'll go ahead and give Mr. William Gyron scores as he puts them in the chat. He is going with the Bills 28-17. That is a very good score there. I like that score. So, next game on the docket is going to be the number 3 Kansas City Chiefs welcoming Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins to town. Now, this game could be up in the air. The reason I say that is because even though they were able to do just enough to lock down the number 3 seed, this Kansas City Chiefs team looks weak. They look weak. Patrick Mahomes definitely did not have the best year. He definitely did not. As well as Travis Kelce, he definitely did not have a good year. I mean, Kelce fell just 16 yards short, or 16 yards shy of an 8th consecutive 1,000-yard receiving season, or 1,000 receiving yard season. And I honestly don't know about this Kansas City Chiefs team. I mean, yes, they are playing at home, but the Chiefs actually lost some high-profile games on their home field this year. I mean, take a look back at Week 1, whenever they got beat by the Detroit Lions 21-20. I mean, that was a definite surprise to me, and I'm pretty sure it was a definite surprise to everybody else. Now, from Miami's side of things, Tua was able to have a injury-free season. Now, I know that he was battered at some points, and I know he had to come out of the game on some instances due to injuries. But Tua, for once, was not able to have a concussion this year. And the fact that Miami's offense looks so much better on paper than Kansas City's, I am actually going to go with Miami to pull off an upset here. I'm actually going to go with Miami. I think Miami is the better team on paper right now. And I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be in trouble this go around. Because he definitely doesn't, I mean, he may still have control of the offense, but the fact of the matter is the Chiefs just cannot do it this year. I mean, they won't be able to do it this year. I mean, the past 5-6 seasons, the Chiefs were able to host the AFC Championship game at Arrowhead. But unless the Chiefs can pull a magic rabbit out of their hat or a white rabbit out of a magic hat, it's not going to happen this year. So I'm going to go with Miami to pull off an upset. I'm going to go Miami on a game-winning field goal, 33-30.
Ooh.
And Mr. William Gyron here is picking the Dolphins as well. He is going 31-28. Very interesting score there, William. Very interesting score there.
Yeah, very interesting.
Now, yeah, and the last AFC conference game, and then Ezra's going to give his picks, is, of course, what many people are calling the Deshaun Watson Bowl. The number 4 seed Houston Texans are hosting the number 5 seeded Cleveland Browns. Now, all props and all credit in the world is going out to Mr. D'Amico Ryans. Because when D'Amico Ryans left San Francisco being the defensive coordinator and agreed to go to Houston to be their head coach, not everybody was giving Houston much of a chance. Because D'Amico Ryans, as a former Houston Texan, Yes, he was able to make some plays out there on the field, but nobody really questioned his ability to be a decent head coach. Well, those opinions and those doubts have now been flushed down the toilet because D'Amico Ryans needs to be in the running for Coach of the Year. And as far as the candidate from the NFC side of things, we'll get to that whenever we get to the NFC. But CJ Stroud had an absolute phenomenal rookie year. And the fact that he was able to have an O line to actually back him up to be able to make throws down the field, I mean, CJ Stroud was incredible. He had an incredible rookie season. But Cleveland is definitely not one to look past because Cleveland definitely has a above average defense, led of course by Myles Garrett over there on the D line. So, this is actually going to be a very close game. I think both the Texans and the Browns have something to prove. But at the end of the day, I'm going to give the advantage to the home team. I'm going to go with Houston. I think it's going to be a very tight-knit game until about the very end. So I'm going to pick Houston to win this game 24-14. Even though Joe Flacco has really done a lot ever since taking over as the Cleveland Browns starter, that Houston defense, I think, is going to do just enough. And actually, I'm having a little bit closer to that. I'm going to go 24-20 instead of 24-14 Houston. I think CJ Stroud is going to lead Houston on a game-winning touchdown drive. And I think Houston's going to win 24-20. And Mr. William Gyron, he is picking the Browns. Wow, he's going with the road team. He's going 28-20. So William Gyron has the Bills, the Dolphins, and the Browns winning. And I got the Bills, the Dolphins, and the Texans winning. So now since Ezra is back, Ezra, you go ahead and give your picks for the AFC, and then we'll move on to the NFC.
Sure thing, man. We'll start off with the Steelers and Bills. As far as that goes, I think that while the Steelers have shown signs of great play this season, to me, it's playoff time, and Josh Allen knows something about playoff time. And Josh, to me, and company, I think they're really gonna. This is where I think they're gonna hit their stride again, and I think that this is gonna be where they really shine. And I'm gonna go with the Buffalo Bills over Steelers. My score is going to be. Give me this one, 28-17. You think that's
Same
fair?
score as William.
Oh, okay. Kansas City and Miami. Now that's a little bit of a tough one because, like you said, Tua has been healthy most of the year. Yes, he's been dinged. He's been hit pretty good, but he's stayed concussion-free and has stayed in the lineup. And right now, Miami's is a high-powered offense led by Tyreek Hill, led by some of those cats in that scene, man. And Kansas City, I mean, I don't know with them because I don't trust the Chiefs right now with the way they've been playing. They've been playing very inconsistent ball. Mahomes hasn't been playing like the MVP he's been. And of course, Travis Kelce, he has his moments, but of course, I think the whole Taylor Swift thing is a distraction. I'm gonna go with Miami in this one. It's gonna be not a close game, but it's gonna be somewhat. I'm gonna go with Miami 31-23.
Okay. I can see that score happening.
Yeah. And then on to the Deshaun Watson Bowl, like you said. This is a tough one because Joe Flacco, ever since he joined the Browns, has been playing out of his mind. The guy has been playing excellent ball. he reminds me. This is like the Joe Flacco of the old Baltimore Ravens. This is that Flacco who's been playing lights out. He's been playing great.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, before you go on, Ezra, I do want to point out that seeing Joe Flacco play this well as quarterback for Cleveland kind of reminds me of the early 1980s when Bernie Kosar was the quarterback for Cleveland, and the fact that he was able to guide them to AFC Championship game after AFC Championship game. Even though they were never able to make it to the Super Bowl, I mean, Bernie Kosar was one of the best quarterbacks to ever don the Cleveland Browns uniform.
Yep, I agree. And but CJ Stroud, man, I mean, that kid came in here to a team that was dead in the water. That was literally nobody gave the Texans a break. Even when they had one of the greatest linebackers to ever play the game, J.J. Watt, on their team, they gave them no hope. CJ took that team along with D'Amico Ryans and Nico Collins, and they came in there and they kicked ass. CJ Stroud is my rookie of the year without a shadow of a doubt. He will be my rookie of the year, despite what any poll or report says. And to me, I think the trend continues. It's going to be a close one. Here's my score. It's going to be 30-27.
Game-winning field goal. I like it.
Yep, game-winning field goal.
I like it. I like it.
Yep.
All right, so now moving on to the NFC. We, of course, will not see the San Francisco 49ers play this weekend because they had the number 1 seed.
Nope.
So they won't be playing until next week in the divisional round. But in the meantime, let's go on to NFC's games. First up, in Arlington, Texas, we have the number 2 Dallas Cowboys going up against the number 7 seeded Green Bay Packers.
Oh, I could go 1,000 ways in this game. I could be the asshole and just go 36-0 or some shit like that. Dallas, but I'm going to be realistic here. I really am. Putting all my bias aside against Green Bay and all that stuff. Green Bay, for the past couple months, has been playing some really good football. They really have. Jordan Love has clicked. He's done a really good job. Matt LaFleur has really coached him up to really become an awesome player. Let's see. But for me, as much as how Jordan Love has been playing, he's been playing great. It's hard to stop an offense like Dallas. If Dak plays at the level that Dak has been playing lately, with guys like Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb, you look at that offense, oh my God.
Brandon Cooks, yes. You look at that offense is one of the best offenses in the league. And that's saying something about Dallas, who's had offensive struggles. But when you look at it on paper. You look at how good, especially CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb has been a force this season, and Tony Pollard has proved once again why he is a dual threat. Why the guy can play both wide receiver and running back. The guy can play both positions and be elite at both. It's gonna be a tough call, but I'm gonna go Dallas in this one. I'm gonna go Dallas because of their offensive firepower. And that's not slighting, like I said, Jordan Love and Green Bay, but I think it's just not going to be enough. I think that, and Dallas has got a really good defense too. And I think that defense is going to cause Jordan Love some problems. And so I'm going to go with Dallas. It's not going to be a super high scoring game. I'm not going to go into the high mid 30s or anything. I am going to go in this one 28-21. Okay. All right, Mr. William Gyron, he is picking the Cowboys to win this one, 31-17.
Okay.
And me being the Washington Commanders fan that I am, I would personally love to see Dallas lose, especially to a team that has history with Dallas. And that, of course, I'm talking about the infamous 2016 game in which Dallas was able to knock Green Bay out. Green Bay was able to knock Dallas out on Dallas's home field on a game-winning field goal. But then again, that Packers offense was way more powerful than this Packers offense that we have now. Not that this Packers offense is not powerful, because it is. Because, I mean, Jordan Love had a great season. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
But, like you said, Ezra, Dallas's offense is just too powerful. And their defense, I mean, their defense is monstrous. I'll give them that. And if there's one aspect of the game that's going to beat this Dallas Cowboys offense, it is an over-the-top defense. But even though Dallas has had their history of choking in the playoffs, I don't think it's going to happen this week. So I'm going to go with Dallas in this one. I'm going to go 27-17. Dallas to win this one.
All right.
All right. Coming up next, we have the Matthew Stafford Bowl. The number 3 seeded Detroit Lions will be welcoming in their former quarterback, Matthew Stafford, and the number 6 Los Angeles Rams into Ford Field in Detroit.
Okay. Look, this Rams team has, as Booker T would say, this Rams team has shown me something. It's got potential. But it's for me, it's Detroit, obviously they've been playing lights out football all year long. This team is in my opinion, one of the best teams in the entire, not just the NFC, but the entire NFL, far not. They have an elite firing squad of offensive players. Unfortunately, of course, we know that Sam Laporta is going to be out for possibly the remainder of the postseason. So it's a big blow. They're going to lose their star tight end there. But the way I look at it is one man goes down, another's got to step up. And obviously Detroit has not had to deal with a ton of injuries this year. So luckily the only thing they've had to deal with was really this. Jared Goff, I think, was injured for 1 or 2 games, but outside of that, and Jared Goff, let me tell you about him. That guy had a resurgence coming out of what happened when he was there, when he was in LA. That guy came in there, Jared Goff came in there, and he took that team along with Dan Campbell. Let me tell you, Dan Campbell deserves fucking all the praise in the world for the way he rebuilt this team from one of the most laughable franchises in the entire NFL to now one of the most powerful franchises. They took a team that was down in the dirt, despite having Matt Stafford, despite having Ndamukong Suh, despite having all these great players on their arsenal. It was a football wasteland because it was just, look, the games were poorly attended. Hell, I think the most attended event in Ford Field was probably WrestleMania like 10 years ago. 15 years ago. And that's not even a joke. But to me, obviously I'm going to pick Detroit in this one. I'm going to pick Detroit simply because while I think Matt Stafford is going to be coming in there to make a statement and prove, hey, that you guys made a mistake by letting me go, by letting me walk and going to LA, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be enough. I'm going to go Detroit in this one. I'm going to go Detroit 30. Yeah, we're going to go 30. We're going to go 30-23.
Okay. All right, so before I give my prediction and before I give my storyline for this game, I got to give all the respect in the world to Mr. Dan Campbell Because, like you said, Ezra, he has taken this Detroit team that was a laughingstock for several years, and he has completely turned them into contenders. And for that, I give all the props and all the respect in the world to Mr. Dan Campbell. I like what he's doing up in the Motor City, and I think it's going to continue for years to come. Now, in regards to this Detroit team, the last time a Detroit Lions team was relevant, in my eyes, you got to go all the way back to when I was even barely walking, because I was just a year old, 1 year old, when the Detroit Lions last won their division back in 1993 with Barry Sanders as a running back. That is the last time Detroit ever won their division up until this year. And like you said, Ezra, one man goes down, another man steps up. And yes, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt the Lions being without Sam Laporta. But Detroit, they have three great receivers in Jamison Williams, Khalif Raymond, and of course their top dog, Mr. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Detroit has a powerful D-line that can get to the quarterback and can make plays. And not to mention, they have a stout running game. And, of course, Jared Goff, I mean, ever since his days leading the Rams to the promised land a handful of times, including back in 2019 before the trade even happened, Jared Goff is a great quarterback. I'll give him that. Matthew Stafford, on the other hand, he's had some up and down years ever since he got traded from Detroit to Los Angeles. I mean, yes, he had a great rookie sensation receiver in Puka Nacua. And, of course, Cooper Kupp, he had some up and down years. And the Rams defense, they've had some problems this year, but they were able to do just enough to make it to the playoffs. So my pick is Detroit in this one. I think Detroit is going to take this home field advantage while they have it. And I think they're going to completely continue to shock us. So I'm going to go with Detroit in this one. I'm going to go 31-20. Detroit.
All right.
And Mr. William Gyron, he's picking the Lions in this one, 24-14. All right, now our last game in the wild card rounds. This is going to be the only game that'll take place on Monday Night Football, and that is Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be welcoming in the struggling, and no, I did not use that term loosely, the struggling Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, man.
I'm gonna go ahead and get the rain started on this one.
Okay.
I said it towards the beginning of the show, and I'm gonna say it again. It will not surprise me if Tampa Bay beats Philadelphia. It will not surprise me. Because Philadelphia has definitely played their worst strand of football over the past number of weeks, losing 5 out of their last 6 games.
Yeah.
That is definitely not the Philadelphia Eagles team that I knew going into this point of the season. Because, as I mentioned, Philadelphia had the number 1 seed in the palm of their hands, going 10-1 after the first 12 weeks. But they faltered. They struggled. Injuries were starting to get the best of them. Teams were starting to figure out the Philadelphia Eagles' offensive schemes and their defensive schemes, and they were able to start taking advantage of it. And that's why Philadelphia has lost 5 out of the last 6 games. So, with that being said, even though Philadelphia is considered the favorite to win this game, I'm going Tampa Bay. I'm going to go with Tampa Bay because unless Philadelphia can actually come out and play like that 10-1 team that we saw after 12 weeks, Tampa Bay is going to run all over. I think it's going to be a close game, though. I think Baker Mayfield is going to do just enough to give Tampa Bay a win. And I'm going to go with the Buccaneers in this one. I'm going to go with a score of 27-23. I think Baker Mayfield is going to guide. I think Baker Mayfield is going to guide Tampa Bay to the next round. And Mr. William Gyron, he is siding with me in this one. He is going with the Bucs as well. He's going 21-17. So,
Okay.
Ezra,
Yes.
who do you got?
This one is a little bit interesting because, like you said, this is the makings of a trap game. Because while the Baker Mayfield led Tampa Bay Bucks have been playing pretty decent, we know Philadelphia for their high-powered offense, but like you said, they went 10-1 and have faltered the past several games, showing signs of weakness. Hell, they lost to the New York Giants in the very last game by a large margin. And that's not a good sign heading into the playoffs. It's not a good sign seeing a team like that struggle. When in reality, they should be wiping opponents like the freaking Giants out, you know? They should be putting that to rest and saying, hey, we had this elite high-powered offense. You got, Jalen Hurts with AJ Brown. You got a great defense, great offense. You got all the tools you need. But it just seems like, once again, that it's just not, something's not right. Whether they're just beat up and tired, or whether they're not clicking like they should be. It's a matter of, it could be a multitude of factors, but you can't have that going into this game, because this truly is a trap game. This is a game that Baker Mayfield and company can win pretty significantly too, if they wanted to. But I still say that the defense is still going to show up for the Eagles, personally. But I'm going with you guys. I'm picking Tampa Bay in this one. And I'm going to go 24-21.
All right. All right. So my laptop is about to die on me. So since our predictions are in, I don't think there's anything else we need to cover here in the world of sports. So I guess let's go ahead and move to our final thoughts. So I will go ahead and get things started here. Yes, even though we couldn't have Steven and Kevin on our show tonight, we still had a great show. Me and Ezra were able to handle the reins, with, of course, William Gyron representing our show in the chat. We had a great show talking about the NFL Week 18, giving our predictions for the wildcard rounds, and also adding in a little NBA and Major League Baseball talk. So you guys enjoy the rest of the week. Hopefully you'll have a prosperous work week, or just a prosperous week wherever you are, and get ready to watch the wildcard playoffs this weekend. And I'm going to go ahead and log off. So Ezra, you know how to do it, my man. Close us out. I'll see you guys next week.
Will do, Joey. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Peace.
All right, you guys. That's it for today's show. We thank you guys so much for joining us, as always. Thank you to William Guy for being in the chat. Thank you to everybody who watches the show live or watches it on demand. We appreciate the support, as always. Don't forget to like our social media. Once again, Twitter at Owen_Sports Show, Facebook.com/Our Nation Sports Show, Instagram.com/Our Nation Sports Show, and of course on the YouTube, same thing at Our Nation Sports Show as well. Don't forget to follow our friends and our colleagues, our brothers and sisters at The Nation's Corner, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, same time as this show on Saturdays, where they talk all things pro wrestling. And boy, do they got a lot to get into this week, man. Everything from this upcoming Raw, including Raw and SmackDown from this week, NXT going on right now. So many different aspects. And of course, this weekend, this Saturday being the return of TNA, as TNA presents Hard to Kill live on pay-per-view, featuring all different sorts of matches. A main event between Alex Shelley and Moose for the Impact World title. The tag titles on the line in a 4-way match featuring the Impact debut of the Grizzled Young Vets, formerly of NXT and NXT UK. And also the women's Ultimate X featuring the debuts of Danny Luna and Zaya Brookside. And it's going to be a digital media title, Tommy Dreamer, Crazy Steve. So many other great matches on that card. You can go to Impact, you can go to Triller Plus, or to go to Triller by Fight and order the pay-per-view, or order it on your local pay-per-view or satellite providers to watch it as well. Also, GCW has 2 shows this weekend. One in Chicago, sold out with a great matchup, including Gringo Loco versus Mustafa Ali. Which is going to be Mustafa Ali's official debut back on the Chicago independent circuit and his GCW debut, which I'm excited for. That'll take place on Friday. Don't forget, next week Saturday next Tuesday we will be dedicating our show to the memory of the late great Jay Briscoe, as it'll be one day before the 1-year anniversary of his passing. So that show will be dedicated to the memory of Jamie Pugh. So don't forget to check that out next week. Of course, we're going to get into the divisional round next week and all that stuff. And now enough for me talking. Let's close it out. So for Kevin Rory, for Stephen Wyatt, for Joey Thornton, Randy Gyron, I am Ezra Vickrey, and we will see you right here next week for another great edition of our Nation Sports Show. Take care, everybody. Have a great week. We will see you all next Tuesday, same time, same YouTube channel. Peace out, everybody.